at stake.
Where?
He shops at Erewhon.
Where?
He sons his bowl.
Where?
He reads ingredient labels.
Where?
He wants to move off grid.
Where?
He's dating to marry.
Where?
He's into conspiracy theories.
The point of that cold open is that it is hard to find a good man these days. And if you're a chick or a dude out there looking for a good man and you find someone who watches the Rubin Report and suns his balls, you stick with that guy. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It's May 8th, 2024. Why did you shake your head right then? Why did you shake your head? That was not right. We're live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and Locals. Post-game show, as always, RubinReport.locals.com. And I'm looking forward to today's show because we're mixing it up a little bit. It's it's like a big cast of characters that we're constantly talking about on the show. We got a little of everybody. Some people we haven't talked about in a while, but we got Psaki, we got Whoopi, we got Cuomo, we got that lunatic who should be in jail in China probably, Leana Wen, we got Hochul, we got a black guy who can use a computer. It's a lot. It's a big show, so let's just dive right into it. On The View, it's just incredible that these women do this every day and that other people watch them. And then people like me play clips of them. I know a lot of you mute the clips when I play them, but just get through this one with me. Whoopi is very concerned, and the other ladies of The View are very concerned that Donald Trump might be president again because Joe Biden has dementia. The Democrats are a combination of psychotic progressives and Hamas supporters. A lot of people aren't really into that, and Trump might just come back. But Whoopi is proposing that we reopen Alcatraz just in case they are able to nip him off before then and put him in jail.
If he read it, it didn't matter to him, right, Whoopi? I'm sort of conflicted about whether or not he should be held in contempt and he's already been held in contempt, but put in jail for it. But I do think that 71% of Americans have said that he should be put in jail if he is convicted. The other thing I will say, we all saw, many of us are old enough to have seen the OJ case. Yeah. And remember how Judge Ito lost complete control of the courtroom? And I think that had a lot to do with the win. You cannot let Donald Trump be a runaway train in that courtroom. No. It's not his courtroom, it's the judge's courtroom. And so I think to make a point, to prove a point, put him in the clink. Why not? Put him in the clink for a day.
I don't want this to sound like I'm doing wishful thinking.
Yes.
But which prison would be best?
I know which one.
I'm going to give you Michael. Well, that's what I got. Number one is Rikers. But, you know, I'm okay if he goes to Alcatraz and they reopen it.
Oh, maybe.
You know, what about Guantanamo Bay? Okay?
Yeah. Well, that'd be close to Mar-a-Lago. Melania can come and visit.
That's right. What about Supermax? Supermax would be interesting. El Chapo was in Supermax. Now he wants to be with the hip people. Come on.
Yeah.
These are my suggestions in case anybody wants to know.
Yes, Whoopi, we get it. You take a bong hit before the show and then they hand you a list of prisons to make it seem like you're funny or smart. But you see how I always say this thing about if you scratch a progressive, you find an authoritarian. They are dreaming, guys, about the day they can put this guy in jail. And the irony is just, 2 weeks ago, we showed you a clip of how they were so afraid that if he gets in prison, he will put them in jail. There is a much greater chance that Donald Trump ends up in jail, I hate to say it, than Whoopi Goldberg ends up in jail. Like, that's just how it is. Whoopi could end up in, what was the pit that Jabba had under where he kept the Rancor monster? No, not the pit of Sarlacc, although that would be interesting too. Anyway, there's this fantasy that they can jail this guy or destroy this guy or hang him up. Also, the fact that Sonny Hostin is saying that he's like making all of these crazy comments in court and he can't, they want to make sure the court doesn't lose control like what happened in the OJ case. Is there any video of that? Is there any evidence of that? Trump's been, as far as I can tell, sitting in the court quietly. He comes out after each day. He's kind of tired because nobody would enjoy 10 hours of court every single day when you know it's all nonsensical clown court BS. And then he complains about it or tries to point out that it is political persecution, which most sane people know. But they are fantasizing about destroying this guy. And of course, the irony also is that they need this guy because this guy delivers them ratings. He is the center of their universe. That is just the truth. Here's a 14-second clip of former White House spokeswoman, now quote-unquote journalist at the televised mental institution known as MSNBC, Jen Psaki, pretending, or fantasizing, I should say, about Trump going to jail, and dying.
I think many of them want to be close to power. They also assume or have this thought in their mind that maybe Donald Trump will go away. Maybe he'll go to jail. Maybe he will die, not to be too morbid, but maybe, I mean, he's not.
Not to be too morbid, what would you do? What would you talk about all day, lady, if he went to jail or if he died? And also the idea that somehow you don't want to be near power, Jen Psaki. Jen Psaki, who actually violated the First Amendment of me personally, right? We know that she, as White House spokesperson, talked about flagging posts for Facebook as it pertained to misinformation during COVID. And Jim Jordan said, I was on the list, me, Dave Rubin, and you may have been on the list too. But they are going after Trump at every possible level because they're losing control of the narrative, right? Like, that's it. People are tuning out of mainstream media. They're waking up to alternative media. People are realizing what the Democrats have done with the border and with the economy and with this insanity in the Middle East and everything else. And people are looking around and going, oh man, we're on the precipice of giving away this country, and I kind of dig this country. And there aren't many better places, which is why AOC and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and the rest of them are still here. We'll talk more about what they're doing to Trump in just a second, but let me talk to you guys about game day. Guys, if you suffer from daily pain, I need you to listen to this message very carefully. What we know about pain relief is changing forever. As we age, aches and pains are normal. We all are searching for effective ways to relieve pain without side effects and addiction. Let's be frank, we've all seen the horrors of the opioid crisis. You may even be affected personally, and that's where a pioneering medical scientist comes in, Clint Winters. You may have seen this world-renowned health expert featured in the national media as he's unveiled a natural pain reliever that is taking the world by storm. Yes, I'm talking about Clonidine. It ain't easy to say, but it works, trust me. The 100% drug-free way to get full body pain relief without dangerous pills. As you read this, Clonidine has become the go-to pain reliever for over 1 million Americans and hundreds of professional athletes. It's so powerful, it's even named the official pain reliever of the UFC, and those guys know a thing or two about managing pain. Now get this, Clint explains how Clonidine is the only compound on earth that optimizes your body's natural painkillers called endorphins at any age. When taken daily, your body will fire back to relieving pain like you were in the prime in no time. And the best news, Clonidine has no documented side effects after 14 years of extensive testing. So whatever you do, make sure to click the link below and check out Clint's amazing, informative report on how Clonidine is changing lives by providing safe and powerful relief at 1/10 of the cost of pain pills. And here's the best part, when you click on the link below today, you can access the Clonidine product, the best Clonidine product in the world, for less than $1 per day. Clint has provided this private link until midnight tonight. You're days away from finally beating your pain forever. Go to trycono.com/Rubin and see for yourself. And now back to me. All right, so when I tell you that these people all are a match made in hell, it's that their world revolves around Donald Trump. They fantasize about the guy dropping dead. They fantasize about sending him to Alcatraz or Guantanamo Bay, but they need him. Because if they didn't have him, and if there was some other Republican with less drama or whatever, they would make it seem like that person was Hitler too, of course, right? Like they were on their way to doing that with DeSantis when they thought he was going to be the nominee. But they need Trump because he drives ratings better than anyone. He is the center of their universe. Sun, planets around him, Whoopi the size of Saturn. Here is MSNBC's Lawrence O'Donnell. And he is really into this Stormy Daniels chick. Stormy Daniels, of course, former porn star. Stormy Daniels, not my taste, but apparently she's out there, made a couple videos. And here he is. She's obviously involved in this hush money case that Donald Trump is hung up by in New York court. Here he is, basically doing something to her that she used to do to other guys in porn films.
She entered wearing all black, as if on her way to a funeral. The loose-fitting, plain black clothing draping from her shoulders to her toes suggested the modesty of a nun.
He's talking about a former porn star, as if she's modest like a nun. Cutter, were you able to find that image for me? We found an image of some of her fine work. The woman dressed like a nun Here she is with Debbie Rochon in Axe Grind 2. The subtitle, I like this one, 100% chance of showers. That is the woman that now MSNBC has decided to laud as the nun walking into the court case. This entire thing about the hush money paid to this, I suppose, former porn actress as it relates to Trump, we all know none of this would be happening if Trump was not running, right? Like, everyone just knows it. It's not even worth going into that much further. But sometimes they accidentally say the quiet part out loud. This is a guy by the name of Andrew Weissman over on MSNBC arguing that it doesn't even matter if what Stormy Daniels is arguing is true.
So just to be clear, I mean, she is saying there was a sexual relationship.
Right.
Legally, it is not necessary because it's really all about the cover-up, whether the story is true or not. Obviously, if it is a true story, it would give Donald Trump even more motive to want to cover it up. But it is not legally necessary, even though, of course, it is very embarrassing and salacious. And it is something that the jury want to know. But I don't think at the end of the day, the jury will actually need to know whether it believes her or not. And I think Duncan's point is correct, which is she is in many ways an exhibit. This testimony is precisely, the state will argue, it is this testimony that the campaign did not want anyone to know right after the Access Hollywood tape. So to the extent that we're all talking about it and saying, isn't this salacious and what are all the details? That is precisely what they did not want to have happen in October, right after the Access Hollywood tape. They've already played Donald Trump talking about how damaging this could be to his campaign. Whether it is true or not is really irrelevant. It is just simply the sensational nature of her allegations are precisely what they wanted to squash. That is the state's argument here.
Quiet part out loud. Think how insane that is. What he is saying is that whether it is true or not, what they really wanted was to create this sensational thing that would damage Trump, and that's exactly what they're doing by him being on that show. Also, what is with the voice of all of these guys on these cable news things? Stop drinking soy. Get on regular milk, for God's sakes. It's making you sound like this. Interestingly, one other thing on this Stormy Daniels case. This is just karma, baby. You can't beat karma. It'll get you one way or another. Check out this from Leading Report. Breaking. New York State Senator Kevin Parker, who worked to pass the Adult Survivors Act, which allowed E. Jean Carroll to go after Trump accusations from 30 years ago, now says the law is unconstitutional after a rape lawsuit was filed against him. Karma, it's a bitch. Clip that, put it on the internet. We'll get to more of this nonsense with Trump as it pertains to what's going on here in Florida, although that's the federal case. It has nothing to do with Florida, the state. But before we do that, let me talk to you guys about Fume. Guys, we all have bad habits. My friend was the kind, you're out with friends, okay? They've got some bad habits, and they're all reaching for their bad habits. And you feel the urge not to be left out. And you feel like you gotta ask one of them to borrow one of theirs, because you know what they're doing. Well, what if I was to tell you there was a better alternative that helps you kick your bad habit in an enjoyable way, something you can take out with you? Fume. Fume draws flavor to your mouth and fills the void ditching a bad habit can leave. It's not a vape. It has no vapor. It's non-toxic and non-addictive. You also won't ever have to charge it. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code Rubin to get a free gift with your journey pack. Head over to TryFume. That's TryFum.com. Use code Rubin or scan the QR code on screen to get your free gift with your order today. And now back to me. All right, so let's jump into some, I suppose, good news as it relates to Trump, because the trials and the cases and the nonsense keeps coming, but some of the stuff is being thrown out and delayed indefinitely. The classified doc case is now being postponed.
I do want to get first some breaking news out of another of Mr. Trump's legal cases I'm just being told about in my ear here. This is the federal classified documents case getting delayed indefinitely. Is it? Talk to us about that. It was scheduled for May 20th, right?
Right, we're just getting our own eyes on this order here, but Judge Cannon making it clear that the trial over classified documents is delayed indefinitely in Florida. This federal indictment leads to the question of whether this trial would begin before the November election. And I think they would be safe to say that this order here from Judge Cannon in Florida answers that question. And so we could very well be looking at a reality that the only criminal trial, only one of 4 that Donald Trump is facing here that will take place before the November election will be this one here that is now in its 4th week in New York over the alleged hush money payment scheme.
All right, so this is really good news. Again, whether you love Trump, whether you hate Trump, whether you're leaning towards RFK, whether you don't know what you're going to do, this nonsense, absolute nonsense around the classified documents case and the fact that Joe Biden had classified documents himself in the garage, right, next to the Corvette. Everybody knows it, and he was VP. He didn't even have the authority to do that. Trump did. The fact that this is now being delayed, it will not happen, certainly at least before the election. That's what they're saying. This is good stuff. We've got a bit more on what's going on here from Fox News. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan is investigating whether evidence seized by the FBI in its raid on former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home as part of special counsel Jack Smith's classified records case was altered or manipulated. Jordan, a Republican from Ohio, sent a letter to the Office of Professional Responsibility this week after Smith admitted that seized documents are no longer in their original order and sequence. Smith and federal prosecutors admitted in a court filing on Friday that there are some boxes where the order of items within that box is not the same as in the associated scans. The prosecutors had previously told the court that the documents were in their original intact form as seized. The government acknowledges that this is inconsistent with what government counsel previously understood and represented to the court, a footnote in the filing reads. Jordan's investigation comes after Trump co-defendants in the case asked for a delay as lawyers were having trouble figuring out the origin of some of the documents in the evidence boxes. This is good news, guys. Like, I don't know what Jack Smith's guys did. Why did they reorder things? How is it that they found all of this information? Did they have the right to go into Mar-a-Lago and everything else? But the fact that this is all being punted right now is very good. The system is throwing everything. Like, they are throwing the kitchen sink at Donald Trump, and he is still standing. That is good because there are a lot of bad people waiting to take power if it's not Donald Trump, or waiting for Joe Biden to drop dead. You know, if you're playing the Jen Psaki game on who's going to croak first. And this is very good that this thing's being punted. We're going to get to some of those bad people. We're bringing back Andrew Cuomo, former governor of New York, who's just absolutely terrible. And Leana Wen, that's the woman. Remember Leana Wen? She's back, baby. But we're going to destroy her in just a moment. First, let me talk to you guys about Grand Canyon University. Guys, Grand Canyon University, a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, believes that we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. GCU believes in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. GCU equips you to serve others in a way that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. By honoring your career calling, you can impact your family, your friends, and your community. Change the world for good by putting others before your glory to God. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. With over 330 academic programs as of December 23, GCU meets you where you are and provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Let it flourish. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University, private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu/Dave. And now back to me. All right, so Andrew Cuomo, the disgraced former governor of New York, whose father, by the way, Mario Cuomo, was a phenomenal governor of New York when I was growing up and did a great job, and basically everybody loved him. He did not do nearly as good a job, particularly as it pertained to COVID. Of course, the big thing that sort of ultimately took him down was something related to harassing a female employee, which was sort of a throwaway. Because really the thing that he did was send all of those elderly patients back into the old age homes when they knew they had COVID. And truly, his decision to do that killed an untold amount of people. Janice Dean, who I've had on the show, who is a weather girl over at Fox, her in-laws both dead because of Andrew Cuomo's decision. Anyway, he disappeared for a while. Of course, it got worse in New York because they got Kathy Hochul, who we'll get to in a minute. But he's got a podcast now. He's got a podcast, and he's telling the truth on his podcast. Listen to this.
I believe if government were to now say, we just made a finding that there's a new virus and everyone should do X, Y, and Z, the amount of compliance with X, Y, and Z would be much, much lower than it was at the beginning of COVID, because people do not trust the government, especially on this issue, the way they did at the beginning. And that would be a complicating factor, right? When you have people who just don't listen, because government had no capacity to enforce any of this. You must wear a mask. And people wore masks in New York. But if they said, I'm not wearing a mask, there was nothing I could do about it. You must close your private business. I won't. Well, there was nothing I could really do about it. It was really all voluntary, and it was extraordinary when you think about it, that society acted with that uniformity voluntarily, because I had no enforcement capacity. So you have a reduced trust in government.
It's incredible the way they try to rewrite history right in front of our eyes. The idea that people were doing things voluntarily, now they may not have had the legal right to force you to wear a mask. There is some debate about whether they could do that and shut down businesses and close schools and all those things, but they were forcing everyone to do it. They were the ones shutting down schools. They were the ones making sure people couldn't own businesses. They were the ones saying somehow you could, if you had a restaurant that had a capacity for 100 people, you could have 20 people and they had to be sitting, but somehow the waitress could be standing and that would stop COVID and all of the rest of it. And he's now pretending that it was all voluntary and it had nothing to do with him. It is absolutely amazing. I mean it. I sometimes admire the gall of these people, not what they do, but their ability to do something so profoundly evil, lie in your face, and tell you that they're not doing it. It is absolutely incredible. Anyway, the woman he's talking to right there is Leana Wen. Leana Wen will go down in history as one of the most evil people of our times. She was put out in front of mainstream media relentlessly, usually on CNN, but all over every news network. To push people to lock down, to push people to get vaccinated, to encourage people to be afraid and all of that nonsense. So they continued here. We'll destroy her in just a moment, but watch this part too.
And I actually think this is one where the public health and scientific community has a lot to blame, because at some point they began, essentially people got the message that if you care about public health at all, or your fellow citizens, you have to be masking. You have to believe in masks and vaccines. And if you are not doing these things or are even questioning whether we should have mandates, then you are somehow anti-science or anti-public health. There were topics that we now know are actually, they're not controversial, but they're more debatable, as in we should have a robust scientific conversation around them. For example, natural immunity, which actually is a thing, but for a long time it was taboo to bring it up for fear that you might be called an anti-vaxxer. And so I think that public trust has been eroded, yes, by people who are perpetuating misinformation and disinformation. But I think that the people in the scientific community who did not do a very good job of separating fact from opinion also helped to erode that trust.
Okay, using her own words in just a second, we're going to absolutely destroy her. And many of you who've been watching the show for a while, you know exactly what we're about to do with the compilation of her just saying the complete reverse of all of that. I don't know what you really do with these people, but it is evil. Like, as we're watching that, all of us in the studio, watching her 180 degrees lie about what she did during all of that. She's the type of person, the exact type of person, the exact avatar for the person that lied about everything and broke the trust of the institutions and the scientists and all that. I'm glad she did, because now a whole bunch more of us are awake. But what do you, like, all right, she's not going to be punished in any way. She's still, like Cuomo, you disgraced Cuomo, right? So disgraced Cuomo. then is like, I'm going to start a podcast. Can I find someone worse than me? Maybe that was what his angle was. He's like, everyone thinks I'm a real piece of shit. Let me find someone worse than me. That'll make me look good. Anyway, here is Leana Wen during COVID doing all of the exact things she now claims that had nothing to do with her, apparently.
Clear to them that the vaccine is the ticket back to pre-pandemic life. And the window to do that is really narrowing. We need to start looking at the choice to remain unvaccinated the same as we look at driving while intoxicated. That you have the option to not get vaccinated if you want, but then you can't go out in public. I don't think it goes far enough. I think this is what's needed in the middle of a pandemic. And in fact, I think the Biden administration, if anything, could have gone even further. The honor code was never going to work, that when vaccinated and unvaccinated people are mixing, unless there is proof of vaccination, everybody should still be wearing masks. And so I actually support what the CDC is now doing, which is going back to this indoor mask requirement, because frankly, we know that we can't trust the unvaccinated, that they have been walking around without masks. And in fact, that's what led to the surge that we're seeing. How are we going to incentivize people to actually get the vaccine? So that's why I think the CDC and the Biden administration needs to come out a lot bolder and say, if you're vaccinated, you can do all these things. Here are all these freedoms that you have. Because otherwise, people are going to go out and enjoy these freedoms anyway.
I actually don't even know what to say. Like, whatever you were thinking while watching that, after watching the previous clip, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, Whoopi, you want to jail somebody? Jail her. Like, that woman should be embarrassed. Cuomo, you want to have a podcast and do something decent? How about you show that clip to her? You show that compilation to her and say, Leana, what do you think of that? That woman should never be seen in public ever again. These people they literally killed people. They destroyed lives. They created the conditions for young people to be anxious and depressed. Really young kids that have speech delays because they weren't going to school, people that didn't get to go to their grandmother's funeral, the litany of things, and then they get up there and they pretend someone else did it. It's absolutely freaking incredible. The other thing that is incredible about all of this is that the pharmaceutical industry decided that they could rush through an emergency vaccine, right? And Donald Trump, some of the fault lays with him on this one. They did Operation Warp Speed. Normally these things take 6 to 9 years to get through. They did it in, what was it, roughly 6 months or so. They get it through. And then, of course, now we find out all about these vaccine injuries and everything else. Well, now it turns out that the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine has been withdrawn globally after the company finally acknowledged that there are some dangerous side effects. So we're going to see a little bit of a compilation here. The first part is the announcement of that on the news, and then you'll see a little bit of a throwback to the way they talked about these vaccines during COVID.
The World Health Organization says there's no reason to stop the use of the Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine. The statement comes after Bulgaria, Romania and Thailand joined 3 Scandinavian countries in suspending inoculations with this particular vaccine. They were reacting to reports of blood clots in some people who'd received the shot, although there is no evidence of any link.
We can say that, yes, blood clots are happening after vaccination, but they're almost certainly not caused by the vaccinations.
There's nothing to suggest a causal link between clots and the vaccine, so there seems no reason to be worried about either vaccine being used in the UK rollout.
AstraZeneca admits COVID vaccine can cause rare side effect. They're currently admitted in court for the first time that the COVID jab can cause a deadly blood clotting side effect.
AstraZeneca has told a British court that its COVID vaccine can cause a rare side effect which can lead to blood clots and low platelet count. The company is currently facing a barrage of class action suits in the UK.
Isn't that, it's incredible, other than it's not incredible, I suppose, right? Because we expect this at this point. We show you the videos of scientists telling you, oh, it's fine. Politicians, it's just going to be fine. It's all good. Media people, it's fine. It's all good. And then you just flash forward to now, and we all know people that are vaccine injured. And now, oh, yeah, a couple people have heart attacks, and young males particularly are getting myocarditis. Like, how is it? Am I such a genius? Are you watching the show right now going, my God, Dave Rubin is the biggest genius of all time. How did I not get bamboozled by this thing? Right? How is it that those of you who have been watching for years, like we kind of all went along with this and we saw the bullshit and we called it out and everything else? Like, why is it that the entire layer of people that were supposed to make sense to us, that are supposed to watch out for us, and our politicians and our scientists and the institutions, how is it that they failed us so extraordinarily and none of them are still fired, and still some of them, like Leana Wen, still dare show up? But if you think that that was gall by Cuomo to pretend that none of the things that he did, pretend that he didn't do any of the things that he did, and then to bring on Leana Wen to lie about everything she did, here's another one with Cuomo. He's back. I don't know. It seems to me they're sort of bringing him back. I don't know if maybe they feel like if Biden drops, like he'll be the guy. I don't know. Who the hell knows at this point? But here he is. And suddenly, even though when he was governor of New York was a sanctuary state, here he is. He's very upset with Joe Biden because of these immigrants.
We now have a migrant problem. And that's new. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Because I've been in and out of government all my life. I served in the federal government with Bill Clinton. I worked with David Dinkins, Attorney General, Governor. This is the worst government blunder I have seen in my entire life. You have the federal government, which is where it starts, is standing at the border with a sign that says, "Come to the United States of America and claim asylum." And 2 million people come, of course, from Venezuela and Honduras and Guatemala. And they get to the border, and they say, "Where do you want to go?" And they say, "I want to go to New York." What are they going to say? "I want to go to Nevada"? They get to New York. New York State says to them, "You can only go to New York City." Only New York City. Not the Hudson Valley, not upstate New York, not Long Island. Only New York City. Why? Because politically, for their politics, they want the problem in New York City and they don't want the political problem in the rest of the state. But it makes no sense.
You're right, Andrew. It makes no sense. But New York was a sanctuary state when you were governor. So I suppose there's something to be said about that. It makes no sense that they put them all in New York City as opposed to spreading them all over the place. But that really isn't the issue. The issue is that these people are here in the first place, and it's because of you, and it's because of your party and the entire New York machine that you and your family have been part of forever. Again, your dad was a good governor of New York, but you have been part of the machine. As he opens it up by saying, "I've been involved in government my entire life." Well, are things better or worse in New York over the last, say, 30 some odd years? They're clearly worse. By the way, when he talks about how the immigrants are coming from Venezuela and Guatemala, et cetera, actually now it turns out they're coming from frickin' everywhere.
Central America, South America, Africa, Eastern Europe, China, India.
The nature of migration to the U.S. border is changing. Before the pandemic, nearly 9 out of 10 migrants came from the 4 countries closest to the southern border. Now, for the first time ever, the majority come from elsewhere, from more distant countries in the Americas, or from as far away as Africa and Asia. We have the world at our doorstep, in spite of our efforts to shut the door. CBP or the Mexican authorities come, plug up the hole with barbed wire, and then the smugglers just come and snip it open again. It's happened over and over, and it'll keep happening. Near this gap, we see about 30 migrants, all from China, walking into the U.S. Last year, 37,000 Chinese citizens crossed the border, according to Customs and Border Protection, 10 times as many as the year before.
A lot of the migrants that we've tried to approach are extremely camera shy. They're really nervous. Several groups have literally run away from us when we approach them. That's what these guys are doing right now.
Guys, they're camera shy. Don't take pictures of the people illegally coming to the country. They're camera shy. First off, the way they even frame that on NBC, in spite of the efforts to close the border. What efforts? There have been no efforts to close the border. Cuomo is right. They basically put a sign there and said, "Come on over." And then there's a bunch of NGOs, often funded by George Soros, that tell people exactly how they can get to wherever they want to be in the United States. So the media lies and runs cover. Isn't it also odd if they were doing their best efforts to make sure that illegals couldn't get here, somehow that NBC News guy saw these people from China just wandering in. How is it that he has a better knowledge of where people are coming from and where they're going to than the people who are supposed to be guarding the border? Unless there's an intentionally planned invasion. People could not be this incompetent. They are trying to destroy the country. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's obvious unless you're a moron. Speaking of morons, Kathy Hochul is the woman who took over for Andrew Cuomo. Eventually, he did have to step down because I think he tapped somebody on the butt or something like that. It's like there's a million reasons the guy should have had to kill it. They were like, how many old people did you kill? A couple thousand? Well, you can get away with that, but you can't tap this bitch on the butt. So, okay, fine. So anyway, the big news with Kathy this week is that she doesn't think that black people know what computers are.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenge.
Okay, so she got a bunch of pushback on that, and we actually found it's a rather short video, but we found this incredible video of a black person with a computer.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know.
Okay, but we found another video. And in this other video, in some ways, maybe she was right. So this is rare, unearthed footage. This is a black person seeing a computer for the first time. This is incredible. You're not going to see this anywhere else.
A lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online to determine how to get in line for that COVID vaccine.
All right, just to be clear, I am not racist. I did not create that video or anything else. A black dude did to mock these people, right? It's the soft bigotry of low expectations. Black people don't know how to vote. Black people don't know how to get an ID. Black people don't know what computers are. Are black people on the internet? Black people are on the internet. Yeah, they're out there just like everybody else. Anyway, this obsession with race, this obsession with your immutable characteristics, it's literally destroying everything. It is destroying meritocracy. So everything that is important, every job that is important, every level of expertise that is important will be degraded. We will have worse scientists. We will have worse doctors. We will have worse engineers. Bridges will be falling apart. Airplanes will be falling out of the sky. Heart surgery will be done by people who are not qualified in heart surgery, let's say the least. Here is a video. We're going to show you a couple things from Harvard. Look, Columbia is getting a bad rap. It's getting a very deservedly horrible rap right now. But Harvard, in many ways, is the pinnacle or the ultimate example of how terrible everything has become at the college level. Check out this music video by Harvard Medical School. Yes, this was put out by Harvard Medical School. I guess this is to bring in new kids because, this is the level of the students over at the Harvard Medical School.
Looking at my notes, but my knowledge ain't fleeting. Space repetition, give me something to believe in. Pass all my tests, but I just skim the reading. In the food chain, we're the ones that eat you. Harvard Med, ain't no bottom feeder. MD stands for my demeanor. Ask permission before I ever greet you. Does it radiate? Does it come with strain? Scale 1 to 10, can you rate the pain? When I knock the door, you ask who is it? You can check my coat, it'll spell my name.
Yeah, you're messing with some Harvard MDs. Found my best friends for life from this Harvard MD. Giving everything we got for this Harvard MD.
Now from the top, make it drop, come get your Harvard MD. You got your offer, now say yes to this Harvard MD. We're talking doc, that's a Harvard MD. You deserve the spot you got, future Harvard MD.
There's some dogs in this house. There's some dogs in this house. There's some dogs in this house. There's some dogs.
We don't have the clown for me to punch today because I brought it into the house the other day to let the kids play with it, and they're really into attacking this clown. But if we had an inflatable clown in here, I would punch it. These people, first off, they're outdoors. COVID is not a thing anymore. Masks don't work. These are Harvard students. There is no evidence that masks work. Anthony Fauci himself was privately admitting that back in May of 2020. So you have outdoor college-educated medical students wearing masks. Horrific rapping. That's not my thing, but I guess I could acknowledge if something was a pretty decent rap. That ain't it. And this is what they are doing. But if you think that is bad, If you think that is bad, we got a better one. We can one. I guarantee you, this one is worse. This is a Harvard. I'm selling it too much, but it's horrible. Trust me. Here's just the average Harvard student talking about their senior thesis. This is wonderful. Enjoy.
My thesis is titled Nihil de Nobis Sine Nobis, a community-driven trans-feminist history of autism and disability acceptance. My thesis will follow the 1930s Viennese model of autism, the American model in the 1940s and 50s, and the British model of the 1960s and 70s, and show how community-driven narratives of autism have been consistently overshadowed by eugenicist powers who define and speak over autistic people. And we're in need, even today, to have greater discussions about the needs of autistic people as defined by autistic people. In order to best challenge the cis-straight white male model of autism traditionally used in the United States, I've used Black trans theory to define transing as method, as inspired by trans writers, to outline how we can best challenge the binaries that autistic people are forced into, like high and low functioning, ASD and Asperger's, verbal and nonverbal, and so many other binaries that control our access to accommodations, education, and happy, healthy lives.
Oh, did you hear that crack? Did that crack come through the audio? That was a good one. I'm fairly certain, I don't know what that young lady or fellow wants to do when he or she grows up, but I'm fairly certain when you go into most jobs, they're doing something over there. Maybe you're at a restaurant or at a sneaker store or at a furniture store, or you want to be an accountant, whatever it is you might want to be. And you sit down and somebody looks at the paper and they're looking at your resume there, they're looking at your education. So I see you studied non-binary trans stuff as it relates to the Vietnamese model of community learning. And can you sell shoes? How can you apply that to selling shoes here at Foot Locker? That person's probably on a free ride, but people are paying like $100,000 a year to get dumber. That's not good. That's not good for society in the long run. You owe me, man, because I got you to drop out of college. And look at you now. You got your own stuff, don't you? You have your own apartment. You have your own car.
Yeah, no autism.
You don't study the Vietnamese autistic model. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, you guys get it. You guys get it. I want to show a video of my friend Megyn Kelly because the other thing that's happening right now is if you think that Harvard isn't completely insane, and I know you know that Columbia is insane, but now Columbia law students want to have all of their exams canceled with passing grades. They all want to pass, but they want to have all the remaining exams canceled because they're stressed out because they're all Hamas supporters. Video.
Law students pushing to cancel all exams. We urge the law school to cancel exams and give all students passing grades. The violence we witnessed last night has irrevocably shaken many of us, left us and many of our peers unable to focus and highly emotional during this tumultuous time. I've got news for you. The law is not for you. Pick a different profession. You're going to be dealing with murderers and child molesters if you do criminal law. If you cannot function because you're a little stressed out, you're going to be a lawyer. Find a different job. It's not about canceling your exam. They go on to say, this follows the growing distress that many of us have felt for months. Our students are not well. On that, I agree with them.
Mommy, I just put on a mask and a kepia and I stood there with the jihadists, screaming to kill all the Jews. I know, I can't take my test. I can't take it. I cannot take it anymore. I'm telling you, that's it. We're going, guys. We're wrapping it up after today's show. We're wrapping it up. Disappearing. That's it. We had a good run. It was a hell of a run. We've got to disassociate from these people. But let's continue, because it's not just that they are breaking the minds of the college students, right? This has been going on for a long time, and they've been starting with young people, much younger people. I don't know if you saw this yesterday. This is just crazy. But the Boy Scouts, they're done. They've been on their way to being done for quite some time, but they're officially done. Check this out from Breaking 911. Boy Scouts of America officially go woke, change name to Scouting America to be more inclusive for every youth. The Boy Scouts of America today announced that it will be rebranding to Scouting America, reflecting the organization's ongoing commitment to welcome every youth and family in America to experience the benefits of scouting. The change will go into effect on February 8th, 2025, the organization's 115th anniversary. This announcement also comes as the organization celebrates the 5th anniversary of welcoming girls into Cub Scouting and Scout BSA programs. Scouting America currently serves more than 176,000 girls and young women across all programs, including over 6,000 who have earned rank of Eagle Scout. Though our name will be new, our mission remains unchanged. We are committed to teaching young people to be prepared for life, says Roger Cohn, President and Chief Executive of Scouting America. This will be simple but very important evolution as we seek to ensure that everyone feels welcome in Scouting. Guys, you're not going to believe this. I learned this a long time ago. Boys and girls are different, and sometimes they like different things. And girls sell their delicious cookies, the Thin Mint. Like, I'm never going to get the Thin Mint again now. I'm going to have to get an off-brand Thin Mint because I can't support this nonsense. And guess what? The boys are allowed to go camping and not have a girl dressed up as a boy to confuse all of them. When they're kids, like, you can deal with some of the realities and complexities and nuance of life when they're older. Anyway, here's Crone explaining his decision.
Sends this really strong message to everyone in America that they can come to this program, they can bring their authentic self, they can be who they are, right, and they will be welcomed here. The argument that I make with the people that say, well, I always like Boy Scouts of America or BSA, why do we have to change? Go, membership is at historic lows, right? Part of my job is to reduce all the barriers I possibly can for people to accept us as an organization and to join.
It might be true. I'll take him at his word that enrollment is low. Kids are doing different things. Maybe they're more involved in sports, like organizations like that don't exist forever. Like, that's part of it. But his job is to just open it up so that you can confuse young children even further. Right? They're being taught all this gender nonsense at school. You might think that when a bunch of kids go out into the forest and learn how to tie knots and make a fire and build a tent, now they're going to be building tents so that they can be Hamas supporters. It's all becoming clear to me. It's all becoming clear. But this is what they're doing with everything. Like, if you would have said to that guy, Crone, if you would have said to him 20 years ago when he probably got the gig, dude, you're going to be letting boys in dresses at the campfire with the other boys, of course he would have said that's completely insane. But what happens is, this thing, this Borg, this hive mind destroys everything that is good. We showed you a couple of clips of Will Ferrell lately. Will Ferrell, comedian, I'm not a fan. I've never really liked his stuff. It's not my thing. Wedding Crashers was pretty good, but he's just not my cup of tea, is what it is. Anyway, he was interviewed here. I think we showed you part of this a couple days ago. But he's asked about the trans community, and listen to him in his struggle session to make sure he doesn't get canceled. Also, he's kind of looking trans himself. I don't know what's going on there.
What was your sort of, baseline knowledge of the trans experience before this very personal, it touched you very personally?
Baseline knowledge?
Yeah.
Zero. Yeah, I really, I know I'd met trans people before. I didn't have anyone personally in my life. So this was all, new territory for me, which is why I think this piece is so exciting for us to kind of put out there in the world, because I think it's a chance for, all of us in the cis community to be able to kind of ask questions that I know for me, it was a chance for me to ask questions that I know, and to also just to listen and to be there as a friend to discuss this journey.
For sure. I mean, first of all, I love the.
Did you feel like I was a good listener or not really?
I feel like you're running for.
Most of the days.
I feel like you're running for mayor here. You sound very optimistic.
I am running for mayor.
Yeah.
You see how afraid he is? He's afraid to say anything declarative. He's afraid to tell you what he honestly thinks. He's sitting, that's a man dressed as a woman who still sounds like a man. And even the dude in the dress or whatever that girly outfit is basically like, you're not doing that properly. You sound like you're running for politician, right? You sound like you're trying to be the mayor. You can never give enough to these people Do you understand it? So what can you do? You can make fun of them. Make fun of them. Mock them into oblivion. That's what we got. And Bill Maher, yeah, you thought I was going to get through a show without talking about Bill Maher, but he gets it as it pertains to mocking the hell out of these people, because just telling the truth about it, it ain't going to work for everybody. But if you can tell the truth and be funny, you might wake some people up.
You know, if you're going to say men can get pregnant, we're going to make jokes about it. You're going to leave it open, okay? Right. So the left got funnier. I'm a comedian. I'm not going to leave that on the ground. Right. And they deserve to be fed up. Now, of course, I still think the right is the greater threat. They don't truly anymore believe in democracy. They seem to have this idea that elections only count when we win. Certainly the guy they threw their lot in with, Donald Trump, believes that. They've never been too good on climate change. They've always been too religious for me. I mean, they have their things too. But I think there's a lot in this book for everybody, because I think there's a lot wrong with everybody, with both sides. Right. And we have to be honest about it.
All right, so you get it. Make fun of the people. Then, of course, he goes into the part that he's still, I think, having his struggle session with, which is, can I vote for the same, can I vote a different way and not for the people who are ushering all the stuff in that I'm constantly making fun of? As it pertains to elections, it's like Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump's an illegitimate president. They impeached the guy twice. So I don't think Democrats really accept elections that they're not thrilled with. Climate change is complete nonsense, and there's just no evidence that man-made climate change is doing anything. We could all do a little bit more in our own lives if you so see fit, but okay, fine. And then the part about that the right happens to be religious. I mean, thankfully, we have some religious people here, some believers, because otherwise, because humans are wired to believe something. If you don't believe in something up there, you're going to believe something down here, and then you have a much greater chance to think that you are God. And if you think you are God, I guarantee you will do some bad stuff. That is our program for today. Part 2 of my interview with Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, who is doing a freaking bang-up job. I think I said freaking like 10 times on the show. He's just doing a bang-up job here in Miami. If you want to listen to an interview of a competent executive running a flourishing city and how you think about it ideologically and how you get policy in place to accomplish things so that people can live their best life, check that out. Full things up, RubinReport.locals.com, absolutely ad-free. People of the internet live at 1 p.m. And we'll see you at the post-game show, RubinReport.locals.com. In just a moment, we leave you with the ladies of South Clark.
Right now, we're going to go downstairs to kind of simple and kind of elegant. I don't know. Shout it. Tell us.
Okay, talk about a fashion statement. Now, 2 of you are nominated for Best Song, Blame Canada. Matt's not. Yes, I'm not.
We said we can't say anything about the dresses.
Nothing about the dresses.
No matter what they ask us, don't say
guys,
anything.
what about the dresses? Why the dresses? And we go, magical night tonight. Just all the stars are out.
Is that why you're in the dress? It's just such a magical evening, and everyone looks so spectacular. You know, we just wanted to be a part of it all.
It's a night of magic.
What? Come on.
Only thing we could have done a little bit better is we could have put powdered sugar all over our noses. Just have been totally like, you.
I also remember actually then having to sit there in the actual Oscars, and you're coming down off the acid. So you're simultaneously coming down, and you're having to now sit through the Oscars, which suck.
There were people that were like, dude, this is my big night. You.